If there is a message for us today, I believe it is to learn to live from our heart in love. These short lessons, hopefully, will help to inspire you to live with purpose, love passionately, and inspire others. We are the change agent our world needs. I'm Helen Toews. Step into the river today with me to explore the mysteries of God. They are not hidden from us, but for us to discover. All right. Oh, don't you love it when machines talk to you? This is so great. All right. So this week is actually a continuation of last week because, and it's broken up into two parts because they're both equally important to engage with. This one here is, we're calling it letting your heart speak. And it's kind of an interesting one. I get a lot of comments on this teaching because people ask the question, we're used to using terms like gifts of the spirit and gift of prophecy and wisdom and knowledge and that in church age. And none of that's wrong at all. What the goal of this particular series is to put science and spirituality together. And it's sort of a passion of mine because the science of it, which I'm learning as I go along, is so interesting, and it really helps to ground some subjects when you realize that science, well, God has always been, right? He's the main deal. He is the bottom line, the plumb line for us. But I love it when science comes in and says, this is that, and then actually ends up pointing to God and how he wonderfully and fearfully made us, and how we're made human for a reason. We're made in his image for a reason. And learning how to cooperate with it on that basis is really one of the goals of this particular series. Anyway, we're going to start in with using the PowerPoint. However, I'd like to know, just because we're just in this starting gate here, how many actually since last week engaged, as I'm going to ask, every day with heart-brain coherence? Okay. Can you tell me where you landed last week? Where did you end up last week after listening and hopefully learning something? Everybody's muted. Anybody have a thought?
I'll speak. I think what it did for me was reiterate the importance of self-responsibility, and reiterate for me that my engagement with this sort of teaching is invalid if I'm not going to use it. And so where you step into that level of responsibility and not taking it, well, 4 days a week or 5 days a week or no days a week, at some point you have to say, I'm going to take the bull by the horns. And
right.
Yeah. And so for me, just with other things that I've been teaching, there's just a lot of personal responsibility, and that's not a works thing. It's are you on board, or aren't you?
Right.
I think from,
go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think for me it's the whole mindfulness. I become so much more mindful of where I am spiritually as well as my body. I can actually connect in I guess I'm more aware of the things that are going on as far as my health and all that kind of stuff. But when I do that that exercise, the way that you've taught us, it just brings me to a place where I can be closer to God and to who He created me to be. And if I'm lifting up an individual, like, I mean, just the word mindfulness has really triggered a lot of different things, because I know that I even had a chance to talk with my doctor about being mindful. And so, that the whole conversation was quite interesting, because he agreed about spirituality and science. So that was quite interesting. But no, I find for me, it's just being mindful of myself and my surroundings, and where I want to be in that place of peace, and that just calm, assurance that I'm trusting God.
Yeah.
He's got my back. So,
He does. I thank you for that. I think using the term mindfulness is really good. I use the term purpose, like living out of purpose is sort of the same thing, right? Being aware of what we're doing, and I feel in even though this is a sort of a scientific study out of Heart Math Institute of Heart Math, I love the science behind it, because it actually all points to God. That's why we put the first, lay the foundation of Christ, what He did for us. So we have a plumb line, but then seeing how we are actually made, and that He is encoded in us. And I think that's been part of my meditation, understanding that He is in that. He took this work so seriously that He encoded us Himself in it. And we do have a responsibility for that. We have a real, a very serious responsibility, but it's not a serious one that's heavy. It's a serious one of just realizing it. And I find myself, the more I'm realizing that is the truth, that He's not out there somewhere in the universe, that we have to go hunting for Him. He actually, when He says, I never leave you or forsake you, it's actually true. He is so encoded, so embedded, so in each and every cell of our being. If He left, we would cease to exist. He took it that seriously, right? It's quite amazing. All right, so let's just take the journey now into this journey is into how our heart speaks, and I'm going to start introducing a little bit more of the reality. I'm going to deal more with the science of it next week, but the reality that He is really everywhere at all times. So we're going to take a look at some stuff. Here we go. Look at that. It turned out better. Okay. So last week, on step 3 of the heart brain coherence activation, I suggested that you try to bring an elevated emotion into the area of caring, compassion, love, appreciation, or gratitude. Then after we did that teaching last week, I asked how people felt about that. And I had given you that story about the man on the train, and I don't want there to be a confusion that we have to come up with some kind of real story every time that's going to make us feel in a certain way. I think what I'm hoping today is that you understand that the things that we think about do elicit emotions in us, and they're important that we do what the word says, and that's think on things above and not things on the earth. So that brings us into a whole different level of caring, compassion, etc. We're going to look at this one thing right now called gratitude. And the reason is because I've found science behind it. And I'm, as I said, pretty happy about the science of it. And there is a science to gratitude, actually. Dr. Robert M. Emmons, a leading expert on the science of gratitude, writes that expressing gratitude has a number of proven health benefits. When we are grateful, we bolster reliance to stress, lower blood pressure, boosts our immune system, increases self-control. Sounds like sort of that list from what heart-brain coherence actually does, doesn't it? And the research suggests that simple gratitude exercises have tremendous possibilities for reducing a wide range of social ills, from impulse buying and insufficient saving to obesity and smoking. It's also showed that higher levels of gratitude are associated with decreased risk of alcohol, drug abuse, and addictive behaviors. So gratitude can lower depression, increase feelings of energy, determination, and strength, improve our sleep, rest patterns, have positive effect on improving relationships, develop deeper compassion, connection with others and with God, make us become more forgiving, generous, reframe negativity, job, family, relationships, or friendships, and produce a protective effect against stress and depression. Gratitude does a lot. Dr. Brent Atkinson, a professor of marriage and family therapy, wrote, when people share positive emotions like gratitude with each other, scans show that their brains sync up and show similar activity, and you increase your natural capacity for love. When we're in this kind of relationship, whether it's with friendship or with our significant others, that we are very aware when brains sync up, aren't we? And there's even no, I'm not going to go there. I'll run. Expressing gratitude improves mental and physical health, sleep quality, overall well-being, and positively affects children's behavior. I wanted to bring the children into this because I have a friend who is the head nurse of a private boys' school. These boys board in this school. They just don't come during the day, and they're from all over the world. It's a very international school. My friend's name is Nikki, and she teaches them heart-brain coherence. They love it. These young boys, I was talking to her today, and she said she had the most outstanding thing happen to her class of 12-year-old boys, if you can imagine. She had forgotten something, forms that she needed for the class. And she left these boys to their own devices. She said she came back, and as she walked in the classroom, the boys had all engaged in heart-brain coherence, because that's what they do to begin the class. These boys are changed. They're changed. And if you can imagine, these, because they're from all over the world, their situations can be very difficult at times. Families far away, there's tragedies, there's deaths, there's sickness, there's problems, and all sorts of stuff. And these boys have to deal with it in a long distance. And learning things like heart-brain coherence, they have felt empowered. They've felt like they can make a difference with inside themselves. They know what to do with their emotions, how to deal with it. They need Nikki to help them, to remind them of forgiveness and caring and that. But they get so excited about it, they actually go and teach their buddies. Their parents, the teachers in the school have all noticed a difference. She's done it now for the last year, and it's made a significant effect on the boarders. I would suggest that this could be something all children could easily be taught. We're in a state here in Manitoba that is so uncertain. We don't know up from down at times, it seems. And one of the things that I think that we could really do is help each other turn to the inside where God is living in us, and use the techniques to just help ourselves get into that place of peace. In a study of 700 students aged 10 to 14, they found that grateful teens had fewer depressive symptoms. They're happier with their lives overall. They're less likely to abuse drugs and alcohol and are less likely to have behavior problems at school. A study of adolescents aged 11 to 17 found that daily gratitude journaling resulted in a significant decrease in materialism and an increase in gratitude and generosity. This finding is meaningful as materialism in youth is on the rise, and it's been linked to anxiety and depression. Helping children to build a mental and emotional infrastructure to their very being will help them to weather the storms of life and be loving and contributing member of life that helps and serves others. So if you have any young people in your life, this would be an amazing thing to help them learn. How do we incorporate gratitude practice into our daily life? It's easy. 2 small steps. 1, turn off the television if necessary. Television. It's somebody else's desire for your minds. That's what television does. They are telling you their vision, fear, anger, war, disease, even commercials creating fear from take this medicine, and then they give you all the side effects for it. One of them could be death. If you die, stop taking it. Some of it's just crazy. Turn your attention to see from the vision within you. Think about some of the things that we've been studying. So in place of thinking of, the man on the train scenario, how about if we envision in this time when we do heart brain coherence within you what Christ did for you, the work on the cross. He paid a price for every area of your life. If you're going to meditate and be grateful for what he did, just thank him. Envision the fact that Yahweh signed his workmanship, you, in every cell of your body, and used living letters to do it. Think about what those letters signify. See them active within you. Be grateful. I actually have been doing this week, and it's led into amazing times with the Lord. And listen, I look at the yod and remember and realize that it's a divine point of energy. It's creative life. It's spark of the spirit. It's in me. So I can thank him. The hay, behold, the veil is torn. We can enter into him. He's the divine breath, revelation, and light. The hay is also in Abraham and in Sarah that brought them youthfulness, and they were able to conceive a child. Vav, we are nailed, joined, bound together, both matter and spirit, heaven and earth. We have a lot to be grateful for. See the truth within you. The Yah, God eternal, within the body. He is in you. Such a wonderful thing to be grateful for. He never leaves you or forsakes you. Have we thanked him? Have we thanked him for that? When you think about these things, new vision begins to form within you. Be grateful for, here's another sort of scenario for gratefulness. Remembering a sweet moment. Go inside your life and remember the things you had no control over, but God made it happen. Things that make you smile. One of mine is meeting Ed in Mexico. We couldn't have planned that, but thank you, Lord. That was a really sweet moment. Grateful for the fire that burnt our cottage down. Can you believe that? The tragedy of it all, and I won't go into it, but our cottage that had all our wedding gifts, our family memento pictures, etc., burnt to the ground, nothing left. But yet it was rebuilt to accommodate our new life together, because Ed inherited not just me, but 4 young people. And he rebuilt it to accommodate the kids coming back 2 by 2. Thank you, Lord. It's amazing to think that we would thank him for the fact that our cottage burnt down. Remember, I'm not saying that God burnt it down, but thank him that in it he was working. Let the elevated emotions of the situations in your life become your truth. Corrie ten Boom, in her book, The Hiding Place, thanked God for fleas. They were in a concentration camp, and her sister would sort of mock her and say, "Why are you thanking God for fleas?" And yet, in hindsight, they realized that because of the fleas, they weren't accosted by the guards. They were left alone. Thank God for fleas. 1 Thessalonians, rejoice evermore, pray without ceasing. In everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. When we are grateful in everything, we don't just pray anymore, we become the prayer. And it's a silly song, maybe this is a song for those of you who might know it. Count your blessings, name them one by one, count your many blessings, see what God has done. You know what? If you look at things in your life, there is a blessing in all of it. Whether we have a sign by our kitchen sink at the cottage, everyone asks if we have dishwasher. And the answer is yes, I've got about 4 or 5 of them at the moment. Here. And what a blessing, right? What a blessing. If there's dishes to wash, it means that we had a meal. And we can find those blessings in anything. Philippians 4:8, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. We're in a time right now in Manitoba and in our country, actually, but Manitoba's really feeling it right now, that this needs to come alive in us, to allow our minds to think on the right things, what is right, pure, lovely, admirable. If there's anything excellent or praiseworthy, that will be our power. Practicing gratitude takes virtually no time, and it quickly becomes a habit. We take a few minutes every day throughout the day. We all have 6 minutes. This is my guilt trip on everybody. Heart-brain coherence does that. It gives us that opportunity to line up from the inside out. Make it a habit and see what happens. So we're going to start now, and we're going to take the time. I'm not going to explain it. We're just going to go into a few minutes in heart-brain and set ourselves in heart-brain coherence. And then we're going to go on to the next phase in it. Okay, so just get into a comfortable place, sitting or laying down. I really like doing this with music, but it doesn't transfer very well if I do. We can really rest anywhere because this isn't a mode of prayer where you have to sit or lay down or anything. Just chill wherever you are. Put any thoughts that might disturb you right now into an imaginary box. You can deal with them later. So first, we're going to create a heart focus. Allow your awareness to move from your mind into the area of your heart. However you're comfortable, touch the area of your heart. This sends a signal to your heart that a shift has taken place and you are no longer engaged in the world around you. And now you're becoming aware of the world within you. Second, we're going to begin to breathe slowly and with purpose. Take 5-second inhale, 6-second exhale. Stay there until you relax and it becomes rhythmic and peaceful. Deep, slow breathing signals the body that it's safe, in a place to support the process, and this stimulates the response of the nervous system to create the relaxation response. Now we deliberately keep breathing, just rhythmically in and out, but deliberately create a sincere feeling of gratitude. And let's use one of the ideas that we've just learned, what we've talked about. It's grateful for the signature of God in us, for the Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. Maybe for some moment in your life, seeing that special person you haven't seen for a long time, doing something with someone that you haven't, even a hug, even a hug. Just feel grateful for that moment. I'm grateful for this moment that we can hang out together, just be together. Thank you, Lord. Stay there for a few minutes and remember, allow yourself to feel the elevated emotion of the reality. The key is the feeling must be sincere and heartfelt as possible. The quality of this feeling fine-tunes and optimizes the coherence between your heart and your brain. We all have something to be grateful for. Now, when you're doing this on your own, you may find yourself taking longer because you want to. You just want to stay in that place of rest and breathing. I found last night we'd had some conversations about what's happening in Canada with the government issues of things, and I realized that my mind didn't turn off. But it was so great to just get into heart-brain coherence and allow the feelings of gratitude, even understanding, to be grateful that we're living in this time, grateful that God is in the middle of it, grateful that He's showing us how to live from the inside out, and that being a greater effect than things coming at us from the outside. Okay. So we learned last week that elevated emotions, the feelings of love, compassion, gratitude, broadens the electromagnetic field around us. See, that's an important vision as well, to understand that when we come into that place of peace and gratitude and love, that there's something that happens that happens because we do that actually affects life around us. Once our attention or our intention and then our energy activates the heart acts as an amplifier to move energy to the brain. It's not the other way around. You cannot think yourself into peace as easily as you allow your heart to bring yourself into peace. The research shows that as we establish heart-brain coherence over time, our body will reset any emotional imbalance. And if you have a situation in your life that things are triggering you a lot or things are happening to you, you find out that there is an emotionally imbalance. You're not disturbed or anything. It's just that these outside influences are getting to you. The more you establish yourself in heart-brain coherence with gratitude and allowing your heart to affect your world instead of your world affecting you, your body starts to reset itself in an amazing way, and it becomes easier and easier. It is not a conscious thing that you actually do. The conscious thing you do is purposefully reset your heart and brain in coherence. That includes a reset of any fear, depression, anxiety, stress, impatience, frustration, etc. And it begins to create a peaceful balance within your being. Can you see where that would be such a benefit to our young people today? Some of our conversations with the river group has been quite serious, where young people are taking their own lives, or going into drugs and different things to look for something to change their feelings that they're of hopelessness or helplessness. The more we practice, the more we're able to regulate our inner world of thoughts and feelings, regardless of the conditions of our outer environment. Our human heart is unique. It's the first organ developed in a baby inside their mother's womb. The heart beats before the brain is even developed. It's the last of our organs to stop when a person dies. And in fact, it actually can continue to beat for some time when it's removed from the body. The fetal heart starts beating before the brain stem and nervous system is fully developed. You think God has our heart in mind when he made us? Wow. It begins in the womb and continues. There's a book, Giselle and I we studied out of it years ago when we wrote the book Supernatural Childbirth and did the classes. Dr. Thomas Verney wrote, the most influential sound in the womb for the child is the father's voice. When I read the influence of the father's voice on the baby in the womb, you realized how the enemy has come against our families and has actually created the fatherless generation. The heart radiates an electromagnetic field affecting each other's moods, attitudes, and feelings, whether we're conscious of it or not. Sometimes we can be with a person and you want to say, like, what's wrong? Or you feel, or sometimes you're just walking on eggshells because of the mood in the room. Our heart is radiating those things. Mother's intuition, it's a real thing. And I know father's intuition, so I'm not, I can only speak for as a mom, but in these studies, I read where a mother and baby actually have measured similar brain waves. When my kids were very, very young, one situation was outstanding. My oldest son, Paul, and I, one night, Paul was crying from the other room, and I had just woken up with a nightmare, and I had dreamt that Paul was drowning, and I saw him go under the water. I saw the rocks, and I woke up. I actually woke my husband up to say, tell him what's happened. I was just sweating. And then Paul's crying in the other room, and I go in, and he says, Mommy, the water, I can't breathe. And we were having the same dream at the same time. Not unusual. We've heard many stories of moms praying for their husbands or their children that are at war, or they're in distant lands on assignments. And at a time of need, or the mother would know to pray, or know absolutely in her heart what's going on, and take the appropriate measures. So it is with man's best friend. Man and animals often have that heart-to-heart connection as well. My dad had one with a dog. I was born in Norway, and my dad had a Norwegian elk hound that he was very close to, and he'd had him for years before I was born. This dog and he were just so close. Dog saved his life a couple of times. And when my dad was a pilot, so he'd be on for long periods of time and leave the dog with family. And one day This dog was with the family. The family was outside. It was in the summer. In Norway, you do a lot of things outside in the beautiful sun season because winter is long. And all of a sudden, this dog took off and went down to the railway station that was about a kilometer down the hill from where the family home was. And when the dog got to the bottom of the hill, the train pulled up and my father came out. That dog knew the moment that he was going to be back home. It's quite unbelievable. Bobby, this is my son Bob and his dog Maggie. I get to look after her. Maggie will do the same thing. They've got a goofy close relationship as well. Uh, uh, Bobby will say, I'll be back. Won't tell her when. She doesn't wear a watch anyway. But Maggie seems to know the time where he's coming back. She'll go to the door, she'll go to the window, and she has that sense of knowing he's on his way back. And then Bob will text coming, and I'll know and just laugh a lot. They're kind of goofy. Anyway, scientific studies of the powers of the heart. In 2004, a study conducted by the Heart Math Institute wanted to examine what mysterious powers the heart might hold. In a study, participants were shown some pictures, some beautiful, some disturbing, some neutral. While hooked up to machines measuring their cardiac activity, the machines would measure what the heart was doing while some provocative pictures were shown. They had 45 pictures in this experiment. Some of the pictures, then these were all at random, were absolutely beautiful. Of course, they bring a certain emotion with it, don't they? And so do these. They're ugly, they're angry, they're sad, depressing. They bring a certain level of emotion. Researchers found that the heart was responding to the emotionally provocative pictures prior to them even being seen. A full 6 seconds before the photos were shown, the heart would react to what was coming. Somehow, the heart was receiving intuitive information before the brain, and in fact, the heart appeared to be looking into the future. Now, these facts alone make me want to have my heart and brain in coherence at optimum working so that I can live out of that super intuitive place because our hearts are created for that. And I'll bet if we were just sitting and chatting about intuitive situations, things that happen, we would all have amazing stories. Our brain receives many of its instructions on what to do from the heart. The studies show that the heart is able to think, feel, and have emotions of its own. I took this picture out because intuitive hearts work. Ed and I were out at the and it was winter time, and we were snowshoeing on the lake, and it was a beautiful day like this, absolutely a fabulous winter day. And all of a sudden I said, Ed, we need to go home. And we're 3.5 hours from Winnipeg, plus an hour to shut down the water lines and close up the cottage because it's winter, and before we can leave. And Ed was really sweet about it. He just said, okay, I'm in. And we had no reason to leave the beautiful sunny day. Once we finished closing up and we got into the road or onto the road, by the time we drove into Winnipeg, we were in the worst winter storm of the season. If we had stayed at the cottage, we would not have been out for weeks. It came in that fast. Listen to your intuition. And now here's my secret. Love this book, The Little Prince. Now here's my secret, a very simple secret. It's only with the heart that one can see rightly what is essential and invisible to the eye. Trust your heart. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. How important is it for us to keep our thinking right, how to think in line with the will and purpose of God, to stay in Christ consciousness. The heart is a sensory organ that acts as a sophisticated information encoding and processing center that enables it to learn, remember, and make independent, functional decisions. So, this is a bit of an introduction to next week, because we are going to go into some pretty amazing, science. Memory is not kept in the heart. Science has recently been able to show that memory is kept in the field, the divine matrix space in the mind of God, and we have access to it. It's all around us and it's within us. I guess if I could ask you to say, Sila, think about this, rest on this. And if I was going to give you homework, it would be to think and realize that all of the space we look into, all of the air we breathe, every God is in that, and we have access to it. It's a consciousness that we actually live in. It is life around us. The heart is changed when our thoughts, emotions, and feelings align to the reality of the mind of God that is in us. The key is our feeling, not just what we think. With successful completion of step 3 that we did, the connection linking the heart and brain, resulting in heart-brain coherence, has been established. Now, remember, I said last week, when we do the heart-brain coherence, it actually lasts, the effect of it lasts up to 6 hours. So spending 6 minutes for 6 hours benefit, I think, is really worth the effort. There's 2 more steps that we can learn that allows us to engage with our heart. And that is to ask your heart a question. The previous 3 steps create the harmony between your heart and brain that enables you to tap into your heart's intelligence. This should be done first. So as we continue to breathe and hold our focus in our heart, now is a good time to ask your heart a question. Heart intelligence generally works best when the questions are brief and to the point. Your heart doesn't need a preface or a history of a situation before the question. Your heart knows everything about you. You can ask your question in a single, concise sentence, and then allow your heart to respond in a way that works for you. The result is your intuition opens up and you begin a dialogue. So, simple questions. And remember, you don't need to explain in your heart. Here's one. Should I get on that next plane? I don't know if you know what, I'll tell Greg Braden's testimony on this is really good. It was right after 9/11 and all the airports were shut down, and he was in Australia. And he says that there was great concern about this was going to be the first flight into the US after having the Twin Towers go down. And there was a lot of fear. There was just a lot of fear. So they told the passengers that it was up to them. They needed to make that decision, whether they felt comfortable going or not. And he realized he needed to ask his heart. So he's a master at doing this anyway. But he said, I just took myself aside, went into coherence, asked, should I take the plane? Said yes. And he was one of only 20 passengers, I believe it was, that successfully went back to America. But we can do the heart-brain coherence, asking your heart a question. Should I take this job? Should I take this assignment? How about if we are on the street Should I speak with this person? Easy, easy, easy questions. You don't have to explain how you're feeling to, it's not a long prayerful process. It's a very simple understanding that when you are in that place where you're at rest in God and you're in rest in Him and in that peace and love, that your heart is there to speak with you. Ask your heart rather than another person for wisdom. This is really, really key. Another person can give you an opinion or their personal understanding, learned from their experience or books or courses, but you are the person that's developing the intimate relationship with Yahweh. Also, if you're asking your best friend wants you to feel good. So there's a lot of bias in an answer. But most of all, I really believe that Yahweh, I believe God wants to work from inside out in us and have that private, beautiful relationship. Goes into dream interpretation as well. Although there's a lot of examples in the Bible of others being able to translate and even tell a person what their dream was, like Daniel and King Nebuchadnezzar, the purpose of dreams are really for the dreamer to hear what Yahweh is saying to you. It's about intimacy with Him. So ask your heart to interpret, develop a relationship and love language unique to you and God. There's lots of books that are written in on dreams and visions. And actually, I do a course on that that's heavily weighted to John Paul Jackson's information. And one of the things that I see all the time is, if you're dreaming and it's green, it means this. If you're dreaming and it's a Coke bottle, it means this. And they've got these things all written down. They're not bad things. They're not bad to learn, and maybe they are guidance. But I think we've even got a better one, and that is this heart-brain coherence. Asking your heart, say, what does that mean? What is that meaning? I had a conversation with a friend that had a dream, and she dreamt that she was in a river, and the rivers are generally clear and cool, but this river was milk. And she said, what do you think that means? And so we went through this little bit of an exercise. Well, the Bible says this is what dream interpreters say, this. What does God say? And by the time we came to the what does God say, we had more of the answer than any of the pat answers. So consider that in your dream interpretation. When God gives you a dream, and it says that He does, He gives you a dream and talks about giving them in the night. I believe that He gives them to us in the night because we're finally shutting up so He can talk to us. We're finally quiet enough. And so when something happens, go to Him and ask Him. He wants to speak to you. Number 5, listen to the answer. Okay, so you're going to ask your heart a question. And now we're dealing with the science of our body as well, right? We know it's a spirit. We are totally in a spiritual state all the time, but our bodies are reacting as well. Become aware of how your body feels immediately as you're asking your question in step 4. Note any sensations, warmth, tingling, ringing in the ears, emotions that may arise. For people attuned to their bodies and their heart's intelligence, this step will be the easiest of the process. For those with less experience, it's an exercise of awareness. Everyone learns and experiences differently and uniquely. There's no correct or incorrect way of receiving your heart's wisdom. The key is to know what works for you. So it may feel odd or for you to think, well, these warm and tingly or ringing in the ears are happening, but as you develop in this, you're going to find that your whole body is like an antenna. Your heart is speaking to your whole body, and what works for one person won't necessarily work for another, but it will be specific to you. I had a situation one time. Bob Jones prophesied over me. It was quite by chance. And when he did, he said, put out your hands. And he took his gloves, he had a glove on because he did surgery, and he put his thumbs into the middle of my hands. And he prophesied, and it was a real amazing moment in time. But as he took his thumbs out, I felt the heat of those imprints in my hand. Ever since then, when I'm asking my heart a question, when I'm in tune with what's going on and I'm doing, I have those imprints in my hands, in the palms of my hands, feeling as though he's still touching them. It's got nothing to do with Bob Jones as a celebrity. It just means that is how, what God is using at times, a sensation to speak to me using my heart through my body. Some people will receive words, some a wash of warmth or peace. They could be the physical sensations. Some never receive words, only the non-verbal communication of a sensation from their heart or their gut. That was a question that was asked last week. Both have sensory neurons. So, I think we all know that feeling, the gut feeling. Just like our heart has sensory neurites, there are sensory neurons inside the gut that inform the vagus nerve and brain of how our stomachs and intestines are doing. Your gut is directly connected to your brain by newly discovered neuron circuit. Some people have strong sensation from the gut area, and you'll hear people say, I feel it in my gut, or that was just a gut reaction. Listen to those. They're part of you. They're part of how you are made, and we are wonderfully made. Remember, you and your body are unique partners in the world. What's key here is to listen to your own body and to learn how it communicates with you and give the opportunity to be heard. This isn't a comparison thing. You're not right or wrong because you have these things happen, and you're not more or better. We're just ourselves. It just is. So we're gonna do this for a minute, if you're willing, because we are in that state of heart-brain coherence that we had practiced. And we did focus on our heart and breathe, and then brought that feeling of gratitude. So how about we try that right now? We won't go through the whole heart-brain coherence, but let's just sit quietly. Take a deep breath. Let's pretend we're in that situation where we need to know something quickly. Be grateful for the moment. Just be really grateful. Thank you for this opportunity, Lord. And now ask your heart a question. Remember, don't give all the details. Don't give us, you don't need to give your heart a story. God knows you inside out. He knows everything that's attached to your question. Just ask the question of your heart. Okay. Now listen for the answer. You may just hear a answer. It might be definite. It might be a feeling in your body, sensation. maybe an easy or an uneasy. You'll know. You'll know. I'm going to stop the share right now. We're going to come back. Can anybody testify, or is there anyone that would share what their question was and what the answer, any kind of sensation? I know I'm putting you on the spot. Was it too fast? Jacqueline, I'm looking for hands. Jackie? Okay.
I asked the Lord, should we go to the lake this weekend?
Okay.
And I felt he said, when you speak with the family, you will know.
All right. So you had those words. I think that's brilliant. That's lovely. When you speak with, you feel you can trust that? This is good?
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Good. Greg, thanks, Jackie. Greg?
I'm currently filling out some paperwork, self-assessment for my profession, and it's very technical what the questions they're asking. My question, or I'm sort of struggling with, do I claim almost perfection, therefore saying I meet their standards so they're not going to question me, or do I go lower, which is kind of what my feeling is, but then they're going to question whether I need to be more capable, and they'll bring me in for inspection or give me trouble for that. So I just gave that over to my heart, and felt like it was like, should go low. Just let someone else praise you. So it's like, okay, Lord, now I know my answer.
Come on. Come on. Was there peace with that, Greg? Just peace, or with the words?
I'm pretty uptight about the whole thing, but yeah, I feel like it's right.
Okay.
So I'm still somewhat uptight about it, but yeah, I'd say there's some peace with that.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I see people on, okay, M.
I think Jerry had her hand up first.
Okay. Jerry?
My grandson had emergency surgery last night, and I asked the Lord if he was going to be okay, and he said yes, all is well.
All is well.
As well.
Love that. Love that. Thank you. And thank you for that. M?
Okay, so I just got word that our son is possibly going to be dating a woman that apparently wanted to date him some years ago when he was with someone else. And because of all the emotional hurt and he's experienced, I thought, okay, Lord, my question was, is this woman right for him? And I asked him twice, of course, and the answer was no, but he will meet the one that I have planned for him
All right.
through her. So yeah,
Wow.
that's good. That's okay for me.
That's pretty, that's pretty transparent. Thank you. That's lovely. That's lovely. Well, this is amazing. So most of us are feeling words, right? There's words that just seem to flow. And anybody have any physical sensations, any tingling, any? Benita, are you?
Yeah, hi. I didn't know what to ask him. I didn't really have a question. So I said, what do you want to talk to me about? That's usually what I say, because he usually has a better topic. And so I didn't really hear anything. And then I was just sort of waiting, and I'm like, oh, I'm so out of tune with this. And then he said, I miss you. And then I sort of started feel, and I'm like, oh yeah, he really likes me. And then I felt like my knees have been bugging me. My knees they've been sort of just hurting, arthritis, I guess, or something. And then all of a sudden my knees weren't hurting anymore. And he says, I can heal you, And so I got up and I just started walking around a bit, and they still hurt a bit, but like it wasn't as bad. And I'm like, I can heal you, It was just sort of like really cute somehow. Anyway, that was what I got.
What a sweet time.
Yeah.
That's lovely. Thank you. Caroline, there we are. Where are you? Did I just turn you off? Caroline? Carolyn? There you go. You're muted. There you go.
It's just really quick because I do hear and see, etc. So I have a son, my baby, he's 25, and 2 days ago he and his good friend left New Zealand, and he's only ever been away once, to Saudi Arabia for 2 years on a contract. He's a pilot, and Saudi Arabia, I was pretty nervous. So I just asked God if he'll be safe for the whole 2 years. And God said, of course. And then he gave me a little picture. So you asked for something a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I saw this golden light all around him, but it was spreading from him all around his friend, who actually isn't a Christian, and my son knows about it, but he's not fully committed yet. But and I just felt this incredible safety, and I just knew that it was my could I use authority in the prayer over your son that was now also over his friend, and all was well. I felt peace. So that's what I got.
Oh, that is so good. And you didn't have,
because he said I can wander down to the city marketplace every Friday and watch beheadings and arms getting chopped off and things. And I'm thinking, yeah, this is not the best place for one son to go from New Zealand. But anyway, I trust God. So there you go.
well, thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. Appreciate that. Beautiful.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other hands up? Okay. Thank you all for sharing that. That was really that was really terrific that you just were able to just engage and ask and receive. Let's go back. Here we go. That is so good. So good. Okay. So in summary, the secret to this code is to learn to work best for you. And here we found that many of you just had that ease of function of words, of yes or no. And that's really cool, because that's conversational, and the Lord is just so gracious in that. But remember, step 4 and step 5. Now you can talk to the Lord all the time, but we're talking about the science and physiology of our heart, and just how wonderfully and fearfully we are totally made, and how important our hearts are. So It always works best when you're in heart-brain coherence. So if you're ever in a place where you just have to ask, remember you have an activation that you can do that takes very little time to just focus, breathe, be grateful, and come into that place and before you ask, and then listen. Our brain is powerful, very strongly opinionated, and that's why we need to learn to live from our heart of love. Ask only from your mind function of the brain, and you'll often find yourself in the spin cycle. Because if you're just coming out of your thinking, your conscious, your subconscious, you're just going around. I call it monkey brain, and you just keep rolling it around. But when you ask your heart of love, you'll be communicating with the mind of God. And last week we saw that power within you, and I just wanted to put this tonight so that we would take a look at the importance of it, because it heals diseases. Those boys in the boarding school, when Nikki started teaching these boys started getting healed. They realized that within them there's a technology in getting right from the inside out. A lot of these young people aren't necessarily coming from Christian homes, but God is meeting them in that place of love and honor. This heart-brain coherence will trigger your brain to produce whatever hormones are needed for your body health. So if you need an upgrade for your youthfulness, for your hormones, for your autoimmune system, this is what will do it. Heighten your feeling of well-being. You'll have a greater capacity to operate in compassion and love. And we also said, the importance of when we're praying, to pray out of compassion and love is really critical. When you take the time to set yourself in this place of gratitude, of love, and compassion, you actually switch over to a capability of loving the unlovable. The people that you're mad at, and in the last few days, I feel like I've had a lot of opportunities as I've watched government decisions in our province to just lash out. And the tongue is a powerful thing, but going into my heart has saved me a lot of grief. It eliminates stress, boosts boosts and activates your autoimmune system, lowers blood pressure and heart rate. Ed is really good at this. He can get his heart rate and blood pressure from there to just perfect in a matter of minutes. He's a genius. It releases anti-aging hormones. I'm counting on that. And it brings yourself into a place of peace. It gives you access to deep intuition and to the intelligence of your heart and super learning. This is some of the things that are coming out more now of the Heart Brain Institute, and they are really interesting. But Nikki told me today that there was one young man that she's been teaching this to the class. These boys are 12 years old, and away from home. And she said, this came and said, I've been doing this all my life. Well, he's 12. So whatever he remembers, he says, I've been doing this. I never had a name for it. I'm really glad to know that when I do this. And she said, this young man had the most incredible ability to, it was super learning and intelligence, because he was able to, he had this thing with decks of cards where he can tell you the sequence, and he'll put them in a certain order. The sequence of these cards, he'll carry them around. I'm not sure what all he does for them, but one time somebody had taken these cards and just mixed them all up, and he was absolutely annoyed at it. But he was able to say what the sequence of these 52 cards were, just like that. She said it's the most amazing. And he's the heartbreak coherence guru. Awesome. We found that from body perspective, the heart is first to receive these non-local signals or intuitions when they are passed to the brain. Then they are passed to the brain. Its result I wouldn't have predicted. This is from the Heart Math Institute. The heart has access to information outside the boundaries of time and space, and it's been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. We seem to have interference here. If someone is in the wind.
It's Pat Catholic. Every time she moves,
Oh, Pat,
there is.
can you
Whoops.
mute, dear?
I thought I muted long ago.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay.
Thank you. All right. So I'm gonna read this again because next week we're gonna head into the things that are going to seem a lot more supernatural. But I want to come from this place of positioning ourselves in love. Roland McCarty said, "We found that from the body perspective, the heart is the first to receive these non-local signals or intuitions when they are passed to the brain. It's a result I wouldn't have predicted. The heart has access to information outside the boundaries of time and space, and it's been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt." So that term outside boundaries of time and space really intrigued me. So I made this little drawing. The printing's not so good, but I'm just learning to draw with this brush here. Here's what I want us to look at and think about from this crude little thing. That all potential for everything in our lives already exists in the mind of God, or you can call it in the field of all possibility. And that's where we're heading next week. Music is already there. The songs are there. Everything is there. Maybe you're an artist, and or maybe you are. I should have put book in there. Maybe you are writing a book. We need you. I'm going to write in book for next, a writer. Maybe you have an invention. You're thinking about it, or a business idea. Maybe you to travel somewhere, live somewhere else. Just good ideas. What about your mate? The potential for everything in our life already exists in the mind of God and the field of all possibility. And that mind of God and the field of all possibility is called consciousness. And that is what science is saying is not, it's not empty space, it's actually consciousness. It's probably one of the biggest studies right now in the quantum physics field is understanding consciousness. So as I'm going to go back there for a minute. Because everything is available, everything is, it has potential to be. There is nothing that you can't think about. I heard someone say, if you can think about it, you're thinking too small, because God is so much bigger. But if you can think it, you can do it. And it's already ready for you. And you know the term, strike while the iron's hot. Well, the fact is that when you have a thought about something and you put it out by your words, you put it out by your actions, you share it with people, you put it into that place of possibility, and now it starts to take form. So if you write a song, for instance, and you're playing that song and it's new, it's not new after you play it. It goes into that field because it comes from the mind of God, goes into that field of all possibility, and now it's actually something. Same with art, same with inventions and business and ideas. I have a few things here. See this heart to home meals? It's a very interesting thing for me because my daughter and I years ago, I'm going to say about 8 years ago, had this conversation on what is a business that would be really important to people, that is moving with our times, with our culture. And we sat there and actually had the name Heart to Home, that we could have a business that's called Heart to Home, and it would be a service for seniors. Now, we didn't have meals. It wasn't a meal service, but it sort of had everything, but we called it Heart to Home. And we wrote it out, and then we just forgot about it. It was, one of those things, you're sitting and talking and dreaming and that, but you don't do anything about it. Well, the fact of the matter is, we put it out there. And when it's out there and anyone can pick it up. I'm not saying that necessarily we were the generators, but we could have been, because it was 8 years ago, and now Heart to Home is just in the commercials on TV. When I wrote the book Jacob's Ladder, it was very funny because it wasn't a new name, clearly, and there's all sorts of, I'm going to say, books and songs on Jacob's Ladder, but that's not unusual. What was unusual for me was I actually lost a friend over doing this book, because I had worked on it at the cottage, and I had everything I had this studio that I worked in, and I had all the pictures and everything and she had come to visit, and she actually became angry at me for doing it, because she was going to do that. And she felt that I had taken her idea. Well, it wasn't her idea. It's actually out of scripture. I had no idea. And it was the goofiest thing. But it's because when these things go out, it's not unusual that businesses with certain names. When Justin Abraham wrote the book Beyond Human, there was a book that had been published that was called Beyond Human. And look at the similarities in the book. He was not copying the other guy, and the other guy wasn't copying that. This was an idea that was created from his heart, from the mind of God, and put out there. And the thing is, when things are put out, they exist. And sometimes you say, I don't know where that idea came from, and this, I'm trying to help explain that this is actually how it happens, that there is a field of possibilities that things are created in, and that is the possibility and the potential is there. We have to bring it into being, and we do it by our words, we do it by our action. Again, Greg Braden tells a story about a friend of his who was a musician, and he was working on this piece for eons, but he was a perfectionist, or I don't know, maybe he wasn't very secure about what he was doing. And he worked on this piece and from what he says, it was brilliant, but he never put it out to the public. He never published it. And then one time they were driving in a car, and this music came on, and the guy said, "That's my song." And the song was absolutely identical to what he had written. He's got it all, but he didn't know this person. This person didn't know him. But what happened was, because this is the principle of the field of possibility where all potential is, that once he puts it out there and then he didn't do anything with it, someone else heard it. We live in such a supernatural universe with such potential. And we're going to see next week on how that potential actually can heal people, can change governments, can change our lives. But there's more and more and more science behind this that is absolutely amazing. And you know what? I don't think, did I? I'm going to stop right now. Awesome. Anyway, I'm stopping here because next week is another week. And I'm pretty excited about where we're going from here, because we're going more and more into, we call it supernatural, but I actually think this is what we're created for. This is me getting excited about what we are created for. We're not created for oh-hum. We're not created as victims. We're not created to wonder. We're created to co-create with God. For it's no longer it is no longer, I've just lost the scripture. It is no longer I who live, but Christ in me. Is that the one? Good. Nod your head. I just drew this little blank. Anyway, Christ in me, the hope of glory. Glory, glory, glory. Okay. Thanks, Lana. I love you. This is good. How are we doing? We're all on mute here. Are there any questions? Any questions? Em?
Yes, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Em, Gigi, Berna.
Thanks, Sam. Hi, Helen. Hi, Ed. Just one question. As you've been going through this whole thing, I've been thinking of a few people in my circle of influence who would really benefit from this. Can I either share this recording with them, or do they have to come to you? And is it too late for them to jump in?
The answer is you can share it. It's shareable for anybody who would like to watch it. Number one. Yes, it's not too late. They are certainly welcome to join in the Wednesday evening, and they'd be very welcome. Yeah, so I'm
Would
glad. Mhm.
would they have to watch from the beginning to catch up, or can they just jump in from now?
Well, the purpose of there was method in my madness, right? To lay a foundation. The reason being, as we go into the next, like even just the end of today, talking about the universe or the mind of God as being a substance, as being a creative force, as those kind of things, that people start. They can go in the wrong directions. I just want everyone to know that we're Christ-centered, and that's the most important thing. If you're going to, we're on the website, I have that there's going to be an opportunity to learn Christ-centered meditation, and if you take that, you will. The prerequisite is to have gone through the weeks, just because I don't want any confusion, and we'll collectively operate in greater and greater power in it. So there's individual power and anointing in what we do, but the day of the superheroes is gone. The celebrity culture, that's gone. Every single one of us, it is God's favorite and God's superstar. And imagine putting like minds together, right? To change our world. When we looked at those, the statistics of what it takes to actually change the electromagnetic field of a person or of our world, it doesn't take that many or that much. We just have to be of like mind. We have to be the same mind, the same purpose, and to get a group of people to do that is not impossible. We just have to agree and work together. So anybody's welcome. They can watch the YouTube as much or as little as you want, and they're welcome to join.
Oh, thanks so much, Helen. Bless you. Thank you.
And Ed is following your books. They are now in British Columbia. Just so that you know, they're in British Columbia, waiting for a plane.
Oh, and hallelujah, from tonight, lockdown is kind of eased a bit. We can only move now 25 Ks. Before it was only 5 Ks, now 25 Ks, and we can't travel to a country, Victoria, at all.
Well,
or no regional travel. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're believing that God's in control of things. Anyway, thank. Okay.
Yeah. Thank.
Eddie.
Sue has her hand up. Huh?
Okay, thank you, Sue.
Yes, I'm trying to find the recording from the first week, the one that you taught about what happened between the cross and the resurrection. And I can't seem to find it.
Okay. You know what, Sue, I will ask the young man that posts that for me, how best to access it.
Great.
It's on
Thank you
YouTube.
so much.
Unless you want to talk right now.
I found the introduction, but not the actual teaching.
Okay.
Okay, Donna just said she watched it today. I didn't try today, so maybe I'll take a look. Thank you.
Crypto Dog, do you want to say something? Crypto Zug.
It's in the 474, the River 474 on YouTube. All the evenings have been posted. The books are on there. And
Okay, thanks.
yeah, make sure you like and subscribe. You got to say that more, Mom. Like and subscribe.
Okay. Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, no problem.
I like and subscribe.
Got it.
Like it. Would everyone please like and subscribe? I don't know what that means, but that's good.
Like and subscribe. We like and subscribe you.
And ring the bell for notifications.
Yes. Okay. All right. M.
Okay, so the question I had thought of while you were speaking was, there has been times when I've been concerned that I have a disconnect with my intuition. I'm learning more about the intuition. Like, I guess I have been disconnected from my intuition for a lot of years because of all the muck and mire that I had within myself. Now that everything's getting cleared out, it seems to be better. But I have been a Christian since I was in my late 20s, and I find that I don't think of it as my intuition. I think of it, I'm talking to God. So I'm trying to figure out whether I'm disconnected from my intuition or like my inner self or what, I mean, how can you tell? That's the question I have.
No, I think if you're in relationship with the Lord, and have a dialogue with him, what would you describe, being a writer, what would be your definition of intuition?
Well, I believe my intuition has something to do with my soul, my mind, my will, and my emotions. But and then I'm not really, I haven't really delved into more about the subconscious and the unconscious and all that kind of stuff. I'm just learning about that psychological mumbo jumbo, but yeah, so I have felt that there is a somewhat disconnect, and oftentimes it disappears when I address there's some kind of a semblance of fear or doubt or and I've had dealt with that, because my brain tells me one thing, and of course my mind is is a different part of me. So I've learned to separate my brain from my mind. So
Right. Uh, without going into studying the difference between your subconscious, and creative consciousness, uh, the simplest way I would say your subconscious is really lodged in your body. Your body, things that trigger you, your things that have happened to you actually are lodged in our body. So we respond certain way to that. Our conscious thinking, our subconscious is also the things that we do without thinking. We walk, we breathe, we drive a car. Sadly enough, we can be driving for miles, and all of a sudden you go, how did I get here? And yet you've done all the right things, right? It's because we repeated.
comes rote.
Yeah. And then we have our conscious learning and our conscious behavior, where you make your choices and you make to do certain things. That for your intuition, I would just trust. Okay, one of the reasons that I've systematically gone through what Christ did for us, how it affected us, and what's in our body, and how our body and our heart mind works. The main reason for that is so that we realize that God is in everything. He is in everything, everyone. And maybe next week we'll talk about how like the connectiveness of everything is outstanding. And so when we come to that place where he is naturally in us, we're conscious of him all the time.
Okay.
Then when one of the things that of intuition, it means into it, right? So when we intuit our heart, and you understand how your heart works out of love and compassion, and that you can trust those feelings, those emotions that come out of love, because they're not coming out of your subconscious, which might be your past programming. Does that help at all?
Yeah, that helps. I sometimes I waffle, and what I've discovered is oftentimes it's because I have lost that deep trust in, that he is in me and I am in him, and we coexist, and and it's because of some kind of fear from way back. So just being that connectedness. And I know that many times I've been in that place of peace, and that I really feel, and I actually know now how much God loves me, not just because I've always felt it for everybody else, how much he loves me. I mean, it's the words, you can't express how much his love is, but I'm just beginning to learn that he does love me the same way.
Even more than you know.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. Okay. Just a minute, Darshan, you had your hand up. Are you still wanting to speak? You're not there. Okay, sorry. Gina?
I was just going to maybe mention that just a practical application to that question for M. When we're dealing with something, like, for example, I'll just throw it out there. I have this knee issue. And I find my intuition, my heart, because I believe my intuition is what my heart is saying to me, like what we just did tonight. What I'm intuitively feeling, what the Spirit of God, the mind of God, my heart is telling me, is something different than what my subconscious reacts with. So in my brain, in my body, in my life experience with this knee thing, I have a certain way that I'll respond to a particular movement in my knee. So I'm in the process of healing and I'm healed. So I'm learning to, let's say, go up the stairs again with no holding on, right? I'm just going to walk up the stairs. In me is lodged, oh, this is going to hurt. This is going to make my knee buckle. I don't want to go backwards. I want to keep going forwards, right? So in my body is lodged a past experience of the knee injury. Conversely, my intuition and my heart is telling me I can run up these stairs. I can run down these stairs, not holding on at all. So there I have what's lodged in my subconscious in my body because of past experience, which I don't live by. And I have my intuitive heart telling me, and the mind of God and the field of possibilities, that I can run up and down these stairs. So there I have life and death, and I'm going to choose what I'm going to live by. Right? That it just dawned on me when you were speaking about what is the difference and what is the intuitive part of us and which one are we going to listen to and which one are we going to live by and which one are we going to believe and which one are we going to act upon. So intuition is always what the heart says, always what the Lord tells you, always what you see in the spirit, always what we want to act on, because that is the mind of God. So I don't know if that helps, but it was a real practical thing for me to understand. Oh my goodness, I know what I can do, but in me is this lodged idea of, I remember, ooh, this might hurt.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Right. So that pain. Okay. So the intuition is more linked to, as we become more connected to the mind of Christ, our minds to the mind of Christ, whereas that unconscious or subconscious, whatever, that past thing was something that our brain helped us to go through. And yeah, okay, all right.
And
We want to respond and we want to live by what our heart is telling us, not what our mind is reminding us of.
Right, right.
Our heart is where we want to live from the inside out, not that outside thing.
I think that was really good, Gina. Thank you for sharing that. And just to add to that a little bit as well, Ed is my husband, who's in here somewhere. Is probably one of the most intuitive people that I know, and we'll have conversations on. Like he will intuitively know, for instance, walking through a grocery store, that person's going to try and steal. This person is like, it just seems to understand that. And we've had conversations on what is the difference between intuition and suspicion, right? Just and the answer is your heart has to be right to intuit something from God. And that's what the heart-brain coherence is all about. It doesn't go into that 0.1 and connect with the whole earth, with the resonant frequency of the earth, if you aren't in love and compassion. Otherwise, there's this wrong frequency happening.
An imbalance.
Imbalance, yeah.
Thank you.
I'm really pushing. If this was a product, I'd be selling it. What can I- But it's free and you can have it. Yolanda, are you saying goodbye? No, okay. All right.
I wanted to ask you something, Helen. You spoke about the nightmare that you had, right? Did you have just the one time, or did you have nightmares like a few times, or did it go on for a while?
No, that was just that was a one-off. I had this one dream, and my son woke up at exactly the same time I had this, and he was having the exact same dream. He was just 2 years old. And it was just an illustration to show that mother-child brain waves, when you're very close and very young, you are in sync. It's a scientific measurable quantity. So it was just one time.
Okay, I asked that because right now I'm praying for a young mom who has a baby and who has a toddler, and she's been having nightmares for months. And the children have been affected, and she hasn't been sleeping for months.
Right.
And the children have been, I guess, being affected by the frequency and the atmosphere of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that there would be value in sharing heart-brain coherence with her?
That's exactly who I was thinking about when I asked you the question.
Sure.
Could I share it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And just go directly to the lesson on heart-brain coherence. She'll fill in the blanks. I mean, this isn't to be legalistic. This is just an opportunity, and you'll be able to help her and encourage her, because it is something that happens so with such ease if we will do it. And you can help her to get her mind out of the things that are concerning, that box. Help her to put things in the box. Help her take it step by step. And it does take practice. You have to just do it on purpose. But for the few minutes a day, and like I said, I do it before I wake up in the morning, like before my feet hit the ground and before I go to sleep. And it makes a huge difference. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, Jackie, I see you.
I was wondering if Em would find it helpful. I was just referring back to Ian Clayton's book, where the intuition he's got as part of the spirit, whereas all the subconscious and conscious and so on is under the soul. And I just wonder if that would bring clarification for her.
Okay, I think I have that book.
Gateways.
Gateways, yeah, I have it right here. I actually learned about a lot of that stuff, being the soul, the mind, will, and the emotions, back when I lived close. I don't know whether it was Brandon or Winnipeg area, but it was by Ike and Tina Thiessen, I think it was, or
was it
Ike and Tina
Dick?
Yes. So I had gone to It's a New Day and gone to some of their sessions, and I bought the book. And so I remember that from way back then. And so, but like the terminologies have changed. Intuition, it was like, anyways, I'm trying to get away from the traditional man-made fences that have been ensnaring me, and I'm trying to break free and be more free in Christ, and be more free to be what he wants me to be. But thank you, Jackie, for reminding me about that book.
That's awesome. Good teamwork here. All right. Anyone else have any comments or questions? We're good. Well, I just want to say thank you for tonight. Thank you for joining in. And thank you for your contribution. Thank you for helping each other. And let me see, what's your homework? Just a minute. Oh yeah, heart-brain coherence. How about that? All right. Well, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you, be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and grant you his shalom, his peace. Nothing missing, nothing broken. I love you guys.
Love you too. Thank you very much, Helen.